Today we have a very special guest with us. We have Anuj. Anuj, do you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you very much, Shantanu, for inviting me over. My name is Anuj and I lead the customer success for Osmos. I'm very, very excited to be a part of today's podcast.
Awesome, awesome. Let's jump right into it, Anuj. To warm things up, a simple question from my end, or rather a fact, and you tell me what you think about it. Uh, in the past couple of years, retail media adoption has completely skyrocketed in the Asia Pacific region. Uh, do you think, or does this surprise you, or did you see early signs of this happening? Any thoughts on that?
And this was always coming. If you look at, there are two components to a retail media. One side is the retailer, second is the advertiser. There have always been encouraging signs for the advertiser. If you look at the ad formats evolving, look at the targeting capabilities evolving, all of those were always encouraging signs for the advertiser to be a part of retail media. But the emerging sign has been that the retailers specifically are seeing retail media spends as a very, very important component of their profitability. If you look at grocery, if you look at lifestyle, if you look at health tech, all of these are considering retail media revenues as very significant. And that is kind of leading to it. What has largely translated to this is about 32% of the total global spends are coming from APAC, which is very, very encouraging. And on top of this, this is growing at an exponential CAGR. Sure. Right. So I always saw this coming, Shantanu, and I'm very, very excited how this unfolds for future.
Yeah, no, awesome, awesome. And you, I think you brought up something very, very interesting, how different industries like groceries, fashion, lifestyle, etc. have adopted to retail media. And we'll cover that in a bit. But really quickly, I think absolutely I'm with you on that one. If you see that Asia Pacific as a region has contributed almost 30% in the global ad spends, which was unheard of up until now, right? And I think 15 to 17% CAGR for the next 3 years is very, very exciting times for all retailers within the Asia Pacific, irrespective of the geography. Now, having said this, internally, like you said, retail media, you watch this very, very closely internally. And have you seen, now if you were to further break it down, have you seen any sort of breakup between product and display, which happens to be a very key component of retail media? Any thoughts on that? Have you seen equivalent growth in both formats, or one is edging the other?
See, it kind of depends a lot on the category as well, but product listing ads would always remain as a faster channel for growth, just from a performance standpoint. Having said so, display has been emerging over the years in different parts of globally. Now, there's some amount of AI generation tools that have led to this, because if you look at creatives was always a part of a challenge in the tail brands, right? And with emergence of the AI creatives, and this is really making simpler for some of the tail brands to advertise. True, right? Having said so, the revenue per advertiser for product listing ads is growing much faster. That's about 140, 150%. However, on the revenue per advertiser for a display ad, that's growing anywhere between 40 to 50% in the APAC region.
Wow, wow. I mean, so clearly, I think there's a clear winner here. I think product ads, slightly in terms of increase, I think product ads have done well. But this is not to say that display is not not being any popular anymore. In fact, what we've seen is about 40 to 50% increase in display. I think sounds very, very exciting. Have you also seen, and I think I was reading one of the reports, that besides increase in spend per advertiser, I think the number of advertisers who are spending now has also increased, right? Like you said, now the tail and the torso brands have also come to the board. And that's primarily because of adoption of technology.
Absolutely. That's a part of it, right? So because display requires a lot of media creators to be a part, or to be a part of the system. And because of these AI generating tools, that is leading to a phenomenal amount of growth on display. Having said so, there are two types of retailers that you see, right? A food tech where you have like 2.5 like restaurants on Swiggy would typically have very low amount of inventory for display, right? Versus like a beauty tech or a lifestyle tech would have limited brands,
Sure.
right? About 500,000 brands, which means that there's a lot of participation that happens from brands on this. Kind of varies by industry,
Sure.
right? But maybe we can chat more as we progress here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if I were to speak of retail media, would you say it's been traditionally viewed as more of a performance channel, right? And what sort of shift do you see in the approach by retailers or advertisers specifically in leveraging retail media? Traditionally, it's been leveraged as a conversion focused channel, but do you see them using it more for branding these days?
See, there has been a significant amount of emergence, Shantanu. Now, if you look at the shoppable video ads or the product display ads, that is allowing the advertiser to do a mix of both, right? So there's a beautiful banner right on top, and then followed by 3 to 6 products, which means that there's a mix of display plus performance, which is there, which are encouraging signs. But it again depends on the industry. Now, if you look at grocery, there are a lot of brands who are interested in performance because you want to be on the app and you want to check out faster, which means that performance is a way I go for the advertiser. Versus if you see an industry like shoes, apparels, beauty, people are far more indulging in the app and knowing what is happening. So that in certain industries you find that display is kind of overtaking performance, but largely performance, because of the widespread of nature, the sheer nature of performance, it will always be a faster growing channel.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, but I think there's a certain kind of beauty, Anuj, in the trend that you said we are noticing, right? That now retail media can be used both for branding, which I'm assuming, which I know that is a little bit of top of the funnel, and now you're also helping bottom of the funnel, right? So one tool or one medium to actually engage with shoppers, just to build that recall, build that brand value, and also get them to sort of purchase these products, right?
Yeah.
And on the second piece, where you said that there are different industries that uh, where shopper behaviors or advertiser behaviors are different. And I think that's the next bit that we'll deep dive into. So, Anuj, we previously spoke about how ad formats or uh, various industries leverage various ad formats. I wanted to get your take on what have you seen as, let's say, the leading ad formats for some other industries like groceries, fashion, etc., etc. And before we jump into that, I want to throw some interesting stat toward you that in the US, about 70% of the shoppers uh, like to take their time while they're shopping for, let's say, clothes, fashion related products, right?
Right.
But when it comes to groceries, they are a completely different person. They want to get in, get out as soon as possible, right?
Right.
So with that background, uh, have you seen certain ad formats excel for certain kinds of industries?
Absolutely. As I said in my previous conversation, yes, we have absolutely seen that. I've looked at about 3 to 4 industries very closely, Shantanu. Okay. When I was in Swiggy way back in 2022, 23, the entire intent of Swiggy was to make the customer checkout as fast as possible, which is very, very similar to grocery. However, as you rightly said, lifestyle and somewhere a mix of Tata 1MG, health tech industry as well. All of those are places where consumer does end up taking time, and that kind of reflects the contribution of product listing ads and display ads as well. Right. So if you look at, say, something like a health tech, where in India specifically, that there are a lot of restrictions on advertising. You can't hard sell a health tech product, correct, which kind of leads to the contribution of display being very, very significantly high as about 80%. Right? Now, versus if you kind of relate that to a food tech or a grocery is where you get governed by a lot of offers. There's easy cross selling that happens, and hence product listing ads kind of contribute to anywhere between 75 to 80%.
Sure.
Right. And now, if you talk about lifestyle, beauty, where there's a lot of video element that is there, visual appeals that is there, there is where we see roughly about 50-50 contribution of both. That's how I have seen largely, Shantanu.
Yeah.
But the trends could be very different in future.
No, of course, of course. But I think these are very interesting insights because you can see how drastically different way industries leverage different kinds of ad formats, right? And it's fairly obvious. I think what's contributing to this sort of unique behavior, I'd say, Anuj, is like I said, groceries are very price sensitive as a segment, right? If there are offers from some other brand, for people don't want to put in too much thought into a specific product, right? They want to get in, get out really quickly. So brand switching is fairly frequent. They're very price sensitive, and hence, I think groceries focuses very heavy on product as opposed to display, which is lifestyle, right? Lifestyle is a category brands want to build or want to set trends, create trends. They want people to fall for these trends and visually appeal, right? I think given Asia Pacific as a geography, I think one thing that I've realized and one thing that's helped this geography is especially India, which is driving growth over here, is that the number of young population, right? It's the millennials, it's the Gen Zs who are now forming some of the largest buyer pools of these products, right? And I think visual appeal for the lifestyle brands is a very, very important factor over there. Absolutely. And healthcare, right? I mean, healthcare is also fast booming, upcoming, and supplements, medications, I think, are on the grow. So yeah, interesting times, I think. And what about regulatory constraints in the healthcare space, right? Do you also see that playing a very important role in healthcare, moving more towards, not a direct sell, but more of display?
Yes, because it's not a hard sell, Shanti.
Yeah,
Right? Because and when a industry does not allow you to hard sell a particular product, there has to be elements of surrogacy that gets involved, and surrogacy can always it's just allowed via display, right? So that is probably leading to a higher share of display on health tech. But one thing that I could just recall, Shantanu, in my days at Swiggy, that Swiggy delivery versus Swiggy dine out also had a very different perspective on listing and display, because dine out was always about indulging. It was all about a man taking his family out for dinner, and that was leading to a lot of indulgence, versus a delivery side of things was more for me for the moment, and hence it was about checking out faster. So hence the product ads were a larger component versus display being a larger component at dine out.
True, true. No, I think you brought a very interesting point. I think what we've seen, and tell me, at least as a buyer, my experience is I'm always shopping for offers, right? So I think I could switch between what I want to eat or which restaurant I want to eat from, depending on what offer is available. And I'm assuming that's the kind of behavior you observed as well. Most of your numbers. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, awesome, awesome. Okay, perfect. Now, Anuj, we briefly touched upon why the adoption of retail media is increasing, and you highlighted something very, very interesting. Is that these days, for tail and torso brands, life has become very easy. Right? There are several tools available that simplify the process of actually using retail media to impact the bottom of the funnel or the top of the funnel. Right?
Right.
And that brings me to a very interesting point, which is auto bidding as well as manual bidding. Now, like most of us know, that retail media consists of several components. Right? There's bidding, there's targeting, choosing your keywords, putting up your creatives, and so on and so forth. Right?
Right.
A key component of that is the bidding process, right? And previously it used to be sort of manual bidding, right?
Right.
And now with the help of AI technology, etc., most folks have moved to auto bidding. Do you think that has also accelerated the growth? And in what way has it accelerated the growth?
Indeed, it has. So let me share some examples to you, Shantanu. Now, what has happened over the years that shoppers have also evolved over a period of time. Industries like quick commerce have seen emerging trends on certain products. Now, what is happening is that brand managers of different brands do not have a complete idea of the emerging keywords that are coming out of these retailers.
Sure.
Now, what brand managers are typically doing are going on to auto mode, discovering what kind of keywords are working best for them, and then kind of targeting the best performance keywords manually by looking at that where do they want to become category leaders, for what particular category within the quick commerce they want to become leaders. So the shift of starting with an auto campaign, discovering what is looking best for the brands, and then translating those spends into manual bids, those are some of the emerging trends that's happening. Number two, as you rightly said, tail and torso is continuing to be a big component of business for most retailers. Now, a tail advertiser would want to be in the complexity of bidding against a category, bidding for a particular keyword. They may not be as evolved as that.
Sure.
And then platforms like Osmos, who become pioneers of auto campaigns, where the AI tools take charge of the product selection, take charge of the keyword selection, take charge of the bidding. All of these leads to the tail advertisers getting the right kind of performance here, and then eventually building stickiness to the platform.
Sure.
Right. So it starts with an auto campaign. The head advertisers kind of lead to getting the know-how of the keywords that's working and then translating that to manual bidding to enhance their performance.
Interesting. I think there's a very unique behavioral trend that I see over here is that now AI or some of these auto capabilities are being leveraged as a base to start things off fairly quickly, and then I think advertisers are learning from that and saying, hey, by the way, if this works for me, can also this work? Can this also work? And then switch to manual mode and then build on top of that. So I think that's a very, very interesting trend. In terms of the breakup, right? We previously spoke about how spends are being distributed between display and product, right? We also spoke about how there has been an increment in spends in both these categories, right? Product obviously beating display, product growing at about 150%, display growing at about 50%, right?
Yeah.
Do you see the impact of auto within product and display as auto bidding within product and display as well?
Indeed, we do. It depends on the distribution of self-serve and managed serve within a retailer. But if you look at Osmos, at our APAC region, roughly anywhere between 70 to 80% of the total campaigns go on auto bidding. Okay, which is as also an outcome of the sheer amount of self-serve that is sitting. Right, a managed serve would always kind of consult the advertiser, allow them to know deep analytics in terms of what keywords are working, etc. But the sheer amount of growth in self-serve advertising that we are seeing, that is kind of leading to of significant amount of campaigns going into auto bidding.
Sure. I think this is very interesting, Anuj. So if I were to summarize, I'd say that various industries leverage various ad formats differently.
Yeah.
Groceries would be investing heavily in product because price sensitive, easy to switch, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Lifestyle, on the other hand, leverages display as a category more than product because there's a certain appeal that you want to build. And you're saying that auto bidding versus manual bidding. I think the debate can be put to rest, saying auto bidding has obviously emerged as the clear winner, and it's accelerated the entire adoption of retail media. I think this brings us, unfortunately, to the end of the podcast. Thanks a lot for your detailed insights. I think we touched upon very interesting factors of how retail media adoption has grown within the Asia Pacific region. The growth is probably at par with what the American geography or the North American geography is witnessed.
Yeah.
I think Asia Pacific is going to be a key driver moving forward. What I also loved about the fact that you touched upon some drivers of this growth, right? Which is how advertisers or spend per advertiser is increasing, number of advertisers is increasing, and that's due to multiple factors, right?
Yeah.
It's because of how technology has reduced the friction that is caused in the process of trying to sort of go live on some of these retail media initiatives. What was also interesting to see is that the mix, right, within product and display, and how various industries leverage these ad formats with lifestyle and fashion brands focusing more on display, whereas grocery and some of the other price sensitive segments or that are mostly driven with offers where customers are comfortable switching for saving a few bucks here and there. I think the way they leverage product, I think product ads is very, very interesting. With that being said, we love to host you again and further deep dive into these categories, right? Because I think your insights have been extremely valuable. We love to know how several brands within grocery as a category would grow, would leverage various technology components, would leverage various ad formats, and any trends within that. We'd love to see that. And for the rest of you, if you guys have enjoyed this podcast, if you guys have felt like you got something out of it, do let us know in the comments below. If you'd like us to continue, if you look forward to the second podcast, that would also, any comments around that would also be helpful. And look forward to catching up with you again in the next session. Thanks for joining us.
Shantanu, for having me over. Really enjoyed it and look forward to the next one. Thank you.
Awesome.